So much for toning down the rhetoric. Amazon allowing merch that wished death on Trump to rot on its site since July 6th. They didn't take it down until yesterday. That would be 11 days after Trump's assassination attempt and only after Fox Business inquired.
Well, with that, let's bring in host of the Ben Ferguson Show, also Verdict with Ted Cruz co-host Ben Ferguson, and Seattle radio host KTTH's Jason Rantz. Guys, it's great to see you both. I want to start on this theme of toning things down in rhetoric, and I guess Amazon didn't get the memo until they were prodded on it a little bit. I want to widen it out because I had this thought earlier, Jason. We are seeing today the Harris campaign, Pete Buttigieg is all over the place talking about this, casting Donald Trump as weak and a coward because he wants to reopen negotiations over potential presidential debates, right? His debates he agreed to was with somebody else who's no longer the candidate, and he's now saying, okay, this is not just going to be the same old plan anymore. And you have Buttigieg and others saying, oh, this is weak, he's scared. We are less than 2 weeks out from this man being shot in the head, Jason, and he got up and pumped his fist. I don't care what you think of him. That was courageous. And it's like that never happened. They're back to this kind of attack and trolling. It's nasty.
Precisely, and I think it's really important to note that just because he responded the way that he did does not mean there's still not some trauma going on, right? This idea that he came within millimeters of death, of an assassination, that should actually matter. And this is coming from the side that talks about how compassionate they are, the compassionate progressives who are always caring about other people's feelings, with the exception of Donald Trump and any conservative that might be tied to him. It's absolute lunacy, and that this is going on and not widely condemned, by the way, is rather telling. It feels like we would have a whole bunch of calls of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance to call out any kind of language that would be used on the right against someone like Kamala Harris or whomever she picks as her VP. Yeah. And yet no one is saying, hey, maybe we should check with the left to see what their thoughts are on Amazon allowing this kind of material to be sold.
And I find it really interesting, Ben, because we already know, there are fractions of the media who just will do anything for Kamala Harris. The spin is all happening right now, how great she is, trying to disassociate her with the Biden policies and whatnot. But the business community is a different story, because the business community has seen what's happened over the last 3.5 years, and many of them have been outspoken and are backing Donald Trump because they're thinking about business, they're thinking about capitalism. But then you see Amazon, and at the end of the day, I'm not saying that he necessarily made this decision, but Jeff Bezos is Amazon, and they're leaving merchandise like this up. That is, and also Washington Post, right? So let's not be surprised about that. And so that's sending a huge message to people about how some business leaders they'll do anything to be crazy anti-Trump.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed in you. I can't believe you're not telling the whole story, because on my phone right now, Guy, there are reports coming in that the FBI is raiding people's houses that bought this shirt, just like they did grandmothers after January 6th that were on the Capitol that didn't even go into the Capitol building. So, Mike, surely you've got this report. I'm being sarcastic, right? It is absurd that these shirts were allowed to stay up there. They knew they were there. Somebody knew they were there at Amazon, and they allowed them to be sold. If it was a shirt that had to do with Harris or with Joe Biden, they would probably be doing an investigation at the federal level. And they would probably go to their house, interview them. Why did you buy this shirt? Why were you saying that the president should be dead? Yeah. This is what they did after January the 6th. Why wouldn't you have the same standard here? And it's because, and we know the answer, it's a double standard. The coronation of Kamala Harris from the media, they're going to give her a $2 billion in-kind donation between now and I think the convention, saying how amazing she is. Now, the good news is, look, I think the American people are smart enough to see this. They understand she was a bad candidate when she ran the first time, and she was polling at, 1%? I think they know she's a bad candidate now. I think the American people are smart enough to understand that they're struggling right now. And I also think the American people understand that these rich individuals, whether it's Bezos, whether it's Soros, these are individuals that are basically dictators and use their money to try to control the government. and they're not going to fall for it this time. I think when you are truly a bad candidate, as bad as Kamala Harris is, on Election Day, the American people are going to see it. They're going to see her for who she is. And most importantly, I think there's a lot of conservatives now that just had enough of giving their money to woke companies. And when you look at this shirt and you see that it was up for this many days, do not tell me that's an accident. Don't insult my intelligence. I'm not stupid enough to believe that story. This is wrong, it's evil, and it should be investigated.
All right. Let's move on to this. The media really thinking Kamala Harris is historic. She makes history. They rewrite history for her, actually. But this time, history is being made on RuPaul's drag show. Wait for it, guys.
Each day, we are seeing our rights and freedoms under attack, including the right of everyone to be who they are, love who they love, openly and with pride.
Jason, I'll come to you on this one. Your reaction.
Yes, this is the crossover event that no one asked for, no one wants. Kamala Harris having anything to do with RuPaul's Drag Race is not historic. Have we lowered the bar of what's considered historic this low? Who cares? I get why she's doing it, I suppose. I mean, this is very clearly going for a liberal demographic of younger voters that I think they believe you do this and you throw in some memes featuring Kamala Harris that they're going to get excited about a candidate who's not very easy to get excited about. But it just feels not just cringeworthy just to look at it. It feels desperate. It feels like they're trying just a little bit too hard, and maybe they should dial that back just a little bit, and maybe some more people will actually get maybe a little bit excited about it. But when you're telling someone you have to get excited, when you're telling someone this is so cool and historic, I feel like it pushes people away.
Yeah, so not a yes queen from Jason Rantz on this one. A little shocked by that. No. And look, I agree. There's a lot of tryhardism here with her. They're insisting just a little too fervently how very excited they are about her. But, Ben, we just started the broadcast with brand new Fox polling. Things are tightening up. Very close in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Things looking more normal in Minnesota, blue by 5 or 6 points. Is this working? Is she having her moment? And does the moment last?
Yeah, I think the moment's going to last for a few weeks. I think when you're on the Titanic and it's going down and this really crappy little dinghy boat shows up and it can save your life, then you're going to be excited about it. And that's the greatest boat you've ever seen in your entire life. That's what Kamala Harris is to the Democratic Party right now. She's a terrible lifeboat that no one wanted to get on before. And now they're like, we love her. Yes, she's going to save the day. But when you put her on the debate stage with Donald Trump and you look at her record, she's the most liberal senator in history. That's going to matter to voters.
And I've been saying that, too. I'm like, the polls are the polls until we get a debate from these two candidates, and he will school her on her record. She's responsible for Biden's record also, and he's got his record. Gentlemen, thank you. Good to see you.